You want to play-by-play this round?
Sure.
I'll do analysis.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. It's all you. Introduce us to the players here. You can't even do it. Henry Scipio playing Living End. He's on your left. Eric Hawkins playing Affinity is on your right. Both these players 11-3. Potentially playing for top 8 here. Could be playing for 9th place, depending on how some things do go. Scipio, we watched earlier in the tournament, truly destroyed Jim Davis, who was playing Jeskai Control. Horrible matchup for Jim in the first place, but Henry played the games very, very well. Eric Hawkins has been up and down for him with Affinity. Had some difficulty against Humans a couple of rounds ago. This matchup can be good, can be bad, depending on a few things. One of the most important things, however, is drawing Arcbound Ravager.
Yeah, Arcbound Ravager allows you to kind of fade the Living End a little bit because you can sacrifice all of your artifact creatures and then get them all back.
Yes.
You still have to win the battle on the table at that point, but Living End is typically very good against creature decks, and Affinity has a little bit of play there.
And these players going to take a look at their hands. They are happy, ready to roll. Makes you wonder if Hawkins knows what he's up against here, and vice versa. Here's a Springleaf Drum, because you find out right away what Scipio's up to. Probably now, as he sacrifices a fetch land, he'll probably cycle something. But if you don't know that you're against Living End, it definitely influences the type of hand you will keep as an Affinity player.
Yeah, definitely a premium on Ravager. A lot of your hands that just put a bunch of creatures onto the battlefield don't cut it here.
So Scipio's going to search up a Blood Crypt, fall down to 19, and now he will draw a card. Play another fetch land. Pass the turn back over to Hawkins. Hawkins will draw. Play a Blinkmoth Nexus. And he has a Steel Overseer. Steel Overseer and Springleaf Drum are going to team up. Looks like to play a Vault Scourge as Hawkins is going to fall down to 18. And we'll head back over to Scipio, who's going to sacrifice the fetch line yet again, fall down to at least 18, potentially lower than that. We got to see some cycling at some point, right?
Yep. And I think a new addition to this deck that should help a lot in the Affinity matchup is the Archfiend Ifnir. Even if your opponent's in the spot where they have a Ravager and can mitigate a little bit of the damage done by a Living End, you have Archfiend and some leftovers in your hand, you can just wear them down that way. Affinity flush with very fragile creatures, and Archfiend's trigger should be very good here.
Head back over to Henry now.
Curious what's going on Scipio's side.
Same.
Is he trying to conceal the fact that he's Living End here and just trying to appear like a Jund deck for a little while? Is his hand really that absent of cycling cards? It's hard to imagine.
This is much different than how he played against Jim Davis, too, where against Jim Davis, he was cycling as soon as he was drawing the cards that had cycling.
Yeah.
He wasn't wasting any time. If Street Wraith was his draw step, he would cycle. Simian Spirit Guide going to make a red mana. Desert Ceradon will cycle. Draw a card. Now here's Demonic Dread. This is clear to me that his hand must not be very good, which is entirely possible in a situation like this. And if I know Affinity as well as I think I do, I think it can beat a Desert Ceradon.
But this isn't necessarily end of the road here from Scipio's perspective. As long as you can keep cycling, ideally you find something else to do. But then it gets a little bit more awkward once there's some stuff in Hawkins' graveyard and your Living Ends aren't just totally one-sided.
Hawkins with a Mountain. Now we're going to see, it looks like maybe a Signal Pest.
Modern Classic players, just as a reminder, you are not allowed to offer your opponent anything in exchange for a match result.
Is there a follow-up?
You are also not allowed to determine the result of your match via any method other than playing a match of Modern.
There is. It's Cranial Plating.
Additionally,
Pass turn back will Eric with Galvanic Blast at the ready.
after turns have finished to figure out who would win. These all carry the
There
same
is a Forest.
qualification. Please do not make me do that.
And here comes the big Ceradon.
Hawkins with Galvanic Blast in hand, not looking to use it, just trying to save it, I think, for damage racing.
Let me take a look at my friend Desert Ceradon real quick.
So big.
Big fella. Giving beatdowns here. Pretty sure it's a 6'4".
Yeah.
Not a 5'5". I just want to make sure.
Plenty of these on my Magic Online account. 2 good deals. A classic.
Some reason you played a lot of Amonkhet Limited, didn't you?
I did a handful of drafts, yeah.
No. There's Steel Overseer. Cranial Plating going to go on top of the Signal Pest. Here come the beatdowns. That's a pretty healthy sized chunk of life here. Woof. Look at that thing. Ooh, Monster's Caribou going to be cycled. So Galvanic Blast and Metalcraft can't take care of the Ceradon. 2 good deals insofar as it likes to be in the graveyard and in play, too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
All right,
It does it all.
Players, welcome to round 7 of 8. You have 50 minutes. You may
I think I would have preferred there for Scipio to just untap before doing anything with the Fulminator Mage. It's the same thing as the Wasteland in a turn. I don't really know what the point is of doing it then instead of waiting until your own turn, and you could have gotten an attacking with the Fulminator Mage for your trouble.
That's true. Missing out on 2 points of damage potentially. Looks like this is going to be the kind of game where every damage does matter. There's Sprinkler Drum for Hawkins. Signal Pest is going to come in again. I think we might have Violent Outburst now.
Yeah, I think that if Scipio didn't attack with the Ceradon last turn, it's because he did not want Hawkins to chump block. So it would stand to reason here that he has some sort of living end effect.
So this is the second living end. Assuming he has a second one in his deck somewhere. I have to believe that he does.
He's playing 3 copies. Don't know if he's got one in his hand right now.
So there's that. Hawkins will take a look at these cards that he's gone through. Pick up a little bit of information about Simian Spirit Guides, main deck copies of Beast Within, the main deck copy of Kerry Zev's Expertise, which is not a card you see all that much of. All that good stuff. And there's Archfiend of Ifnir, too, that Hawkins needs to be wary of. Not only for this game, but game number 2 and potentially game number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Those cards from the Cascade. Hawkins is shuffling. They'll go to the bottom of Scipio's deck at random. There we are. And now Living End will resolve. So Hawkins will get back Vault Scourge and Steel Overseer. And now he will equip the Vault Scourge with the Cranial Plating. And so Hawkins has now got Scipio in kind of this bad spot the Living End does not like to be in, because as you mentioned, Living Ends are no longer just clean Wrath of Gods.
Exactly. Once it's managing the battlefield a little bit, but then you have to deal with the next wave, it gets a lot harder. And Scipio has been so light on cycling this game that it's not like he's getting a whole lot out of the graveyard. In fact, I would say Hawkins may have gotten the better of that reanimation right there.
Monstrous Caravan must attack, so attack it shall. Going to knock Hawkins down to 8. Eric has no interest in blocking. He's got bigger plans for that Vault Scourge. This is another copy of Fulminator Mage here for Henry. Can really start to ruin some of Eric's lands here, as we're going to head back over to Eric, who will draw.
I'm surprised that Scipio didn't attack with the Fulminator Mage as well. It's not really blocking anything.
In case it gets blocked, he can always just sacrifice it.
Right.
Yeah. Hawkins is going to play another copy of Signal Pest. That's another artifact for the Cranial Plating that Vault Scourge is wearing. Now it looks as though Steel Overseer will go active. Going to make a couple of creatures larger, including itself. And now here comes Vault Scourge for a whole bunch of damage. You see Eric doing the count there for Cranial Plating along with Vault Scourges. base 1/1 plus the counter there from Steel Overseer means that that artifact's hitting for a relevant amount of damage. And most importantly, it's got lifelink. So Fulminator Mages are going to take care of Spire of Industry and Blinkmoth Nexus. Now we head back over to Scipio, who's done a nice job of taking care of Hawkins' lands, but he can't stop the Vault Skirt, so he's going to concede the game. So Eric Hawkins is going to win game number 1 here over Henry Scipio. Affinity going to be up a game here over Living End. These players are going to go to the drawing board here for game number 2 in just a moment. Keep in mind, these players are essentially playing for top 8, potentially playing for 9th, depending on how things do shake out in other matches. And if we have time to jump over other matches, we will. But one thing we know we will jump to are a couple words from our sponsors. Welcome back. Game number 2 about to be underway here between Henry Scipio playing Living End and Eric Hawkins playing Affinity. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan here in the booth, getting ready to analyze the sideboards here for each player. For Scipio, he's got 3 Shriekmaw, 3 Ingot Chewer, 2 Lost Legacy, 2 Ricochet Trap, 2 Fairy Macabre, 2 Blood Moon, and Anger of the Gods. I think one of these is pretty obvious.
Well, the Ingot Chewer looks great here. I'd probably bring in Anger of the Gods as well. And I wouldn't mind the Blood Moons. Living End can be a bit soft in the air, and Affinity just generated a lot of value out of its lands.
For Eric Hawkins, 2 Gear Power Grid, 2 Spell Pierce, 2 Etch Champion. 1-ofs here in Ancient Grudge, Dispatch, Graph Trigger's Cage, Ceremonious Rejection, Spellskite, Relic Progenitus, Rule of Law, Thoughtseize, Wear Tear. Don't bring in that Graph Trigger's Cage, Eric. It doesn't work the way you think it does.
Yeah, but the Relic of Progenitus should be effective here, so I would expect that to come in. I don't think anything else is above the line.
I kind of like Spell Pierce a little bit. Maybe that's not good, though. I don't know.
Yeah, it might be, you know, if you're so light on interaction, maybe that's where you have to go, but
I think you might be able to generate a fast enough start where Living End must be cast, and you have the opportunity to Spell Pierce it. But Scipio also does have those copies of Simian Spirit Guide in his deck, too. So,
yeah.
But this one's a no-brainer here in Relic Progenitus. Hawkins has it. It's important. Now, Scipio does have 3-minute copies of Ingot Chewer. As there's a fetch land. We'll see if he actually has one of those Ingot Chewers in his hand. Over to Hawkins, now we go. He's got a Blinkmoth Nexus to go along with that Inkmoth Nexus. And now for Eric, it's a copy of Steel Overseer. Scipio will sacrifice his fetch land. Maybe. He's going to start by cycling Monstrous Carabid. Now Eric would like to remove Monstrous Carabid.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by this sequencing here from Scipio because I think ideally you would open on it by cracking your fetch land. So when Hawkins edicts your graveyard, as it were, with the Relic, you have a land to get rid of instead of one of your creatures.
Well, there goes the Carabid. The land will go into the graveyard now, and now here's a Blood Crypt for Henry. quick update here for you. Kelsey Dixon, player that we watched earlier in the day, won his match against Paul Sellum. I believe Dixon playing Eldrazi-tron, if memory serves. So we could have another copy of Eldrazi-tron into the top 8 here in Milwaukee as we head back over to Henry Scipio, who's going to cycle a Street Wraith. Fall down to 17. Now here's a copy of Ingot Chewer. That will take care of the Relic Progenitus. That was the problematic permanent. So now Scipio is back in this game.
And that's the only copy of Relic in Hawkins 75.
Ingot Chewer, a great card in this matchup for pretty obvious reasons, but if Hawkins is basing his graveyard hate around artifacts, it gets even better. For Eric, it looks like he's going to lose some life to deploy a Vault Scourge. And there's another Blink Moth Nexus. He'll fire up this Blink Moth Nexus, and he will charge up the team. In for 2. Gonna knock Scipio down to 15, and we will head back over to Henry. Henry's gonna cycle another copy of Monstrous Carabid and draw a card. And nothing else to cycle on Eric's end step, so he'll just untap and draw ahead to his 4th turn of the game. And there's another fetch there for Henry and Verdant Catacombs. We'll head back over to Eric Hawkins.
And remember that Living End can do its thing at instant speed, so it's not necessarily safe here for Hawkins to dial up a bunch of creature land attacks here before combat.
For Eric, a Spire of Industry is land number 4 to go along with the 2 Blink Moth Nexus and a single Ink Moth Nexus. Hawkins trying to figure out the best way to go about trying to attack into 4 open mana. Sure does look a lot like Violent Outburst in the Living End right now.
It's tough because you can't give Scipio all the time in the world to keep cycling and trying to find a Cascade spell if he doesn't have it already, and to build up an even larger graveyard. But if you commit to an attack here, especially if you involve your creature lands and he has a way to go off, then you're just done.
Rocking a hard place here for Eric Hawkins. Blink Moth Nexus will go active. Scipio will sacrifice that Verdant Catacombs. We'll see what Lanny wants to search up here in just a moment. So let's make sure he's got his life total correct. Does Henry, and he's all good to go. There's a forest, excuse me, not a swamp. Already has a swamp on the battlefield. A couple of basics here in his deck. 2 swamps, 1 forest.
Just to give him enough to play through his own Blood Moon.
Yep. And now he'll cycle another copy of Monstrous Carabid, draw a card. And now here's Violent Outburst. So we're going to find out here as the Cascade will take place if Eric actually has a Spell Pierce or not. Be a good time to have one. The Cascading will take place. Most of these cards won't matter as he works himself through some bigger creatures to the relevant sorcery there in Living End. Eric will check out exactly what Henry did go by with the Cascading. Among those cards, Fulminator Mage and Desert Ceradon. And Limited Superstar, Horror of the Broken Lands. It was just okay, actually.
Overrated, yeah.
Yeah, it's just okay.
Big time overrated.
And this is going to resolve. So, 2 copies of Monstrous Carabid, Street Wraith, and Ingot Chewer.
A noble squad.
They are back and ready to give some beatdowns. Eric's going to try to rebuild here. He'll start with a Cranial Plating. Now he has a Mox Opal, and he'll just pass the turn back. So not a lot here for Hawkins to do. Back to Scipio we go. If he's got a copy of Violent Outburst, the game does end right now. It's an attack for 4, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, plus 4. You don't have to cast a Living End off a Cascade. Not sure if he has that or not. But an attack for 14 is still pretty darn good. He'll play Violent Outburst. No Cascade and Living End. He sees the interaction. He's going to win the game. So Henry Scipio is going to win this game over Eric Hawkins. Going to tie things up between Living End and Affinity. And now it's all or nothing for Henry and Eric as they both go back to their drawing boards. We will do the same, but first, a few messages from our sponsors.
Go. Go.
And game number 3 about to be underway here between Henry Scipio and Eric Hawkins. Living End, Affinity, both these players playing for top 8, maybe 9th place depending on how breakers do shake out. But all they can do is win and cross their fingers at this point, so we decide to watch them do so. Eric Hawkins will be able to play here for game number 3. Hawkins with a few SCG Tour top 8s on his resume. Very close to making the Players' Championship a couple of years ago as well. And him and his buddy Matthew Tickle did a lot of grinding here on the SCG Tour circuit. We've already got 6 players who look to be a lock for top 8. We're just trying to figure out who the other 2 are going to be. And then you at home are going to view and vote on our quarterfinal matchup. Hopefully you pick a nice one for us, as this is our largest SCG Tour Open of all time. Here in Milwaukee, over 1,050 players. So thanks to everyone who came out to the Wisconsin Convention Center for what's been one heck of an event.
It has been sweet. Great to see this kind of reception. Bad news for both of these players that Kelsey Dixon won that match, as they were the opponent that round was well behind in the standings against these two. Would have been an opportunity to leapfrog, but as it stands, makes it more likely that this match is determining who comes in 9th rather than 8th. But we'll know when we know.
Hawkins going to go down to 6. 7's in hand from him with Arcbound Ravager yet, so it looks like Scipio going to go down as well, unless he just wants to check the top card of his deck, which is not a
legal game action.
You can't do that, no. You can't do that. You know what time it is?
I have a very narrow range of guesses.
Okay, well, weekly sale.
Well, great. Okay.
That's where we're going. It's an easy one for you.
Yeah. Go.thursdaygames.com/weekly sale. New sale goes up every Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, so make sure to be going back to the website once a week. And honestly, it should be closer to once a day, because articles go up. There's a ton of content up on the
Best
website.
staff in the business, not close.
Anywho, right now up to 50% off hundreds, literally hundreds of non-English favorites. Favorites is weird because they may not be your favorites, and there's no guarantee, and this ad is in no way meant to suggest that your personal favorites will be on sale. However, 50% off hundreds of non-English, let's call them cards.
MTG-related.com.
.com
There you go.
/weekly sale.
There you go.
Just go ahead and favorites sounds like we're entering language that could be perceived as legally binding. I would feel much more comfortable just saying cards.
Well done. Nobody does it like you with the ads, man.
Yeah.
Nobody does it like you.
Yep.
People just running to go buy cards now.
Yeah. Well, it's a tough, it's a challenge because I do believe advertising to be fundamentally unethical. So I'm trying to split the difference here of informing people about what is available on the website or other, products we create and publications and such, without veering into what I consider to be unethical territory.
Well, we got another one right now.
Okay.
You ready for this? I got this one. Do you like Pauper? Do you like Brawl?
I don't know yet.
Well, guess what?
Oh, this is rhetorical.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
At the SCG Tour, we will have Pauper challenges for you Pauper fans out there and Brawl on-demand events. Make sure to check out each SCG Tour event so you can figure out exactly time and place for Pauper challenges and Brawl on-demand events. Patrick, do you like Pauper? Yes. Do you like Brawl? For sure.
I'm excited about Brawl,
Should be. It's going to be awesome.
but I don't know enough yet to say.
Oh, this is rhetorical? No, you like them both. Trust me.
Well, it's confusing. Do you like X? And it's not clear sometimes when you're speaking to the viewers at large or to me.
Maybe I will say you do like Brawl, you do like Pauper.
I don't have enough experience with Pauper just
I have
yet.
decided for you. Uh-oh. It's a quick start with a Mox Opal, Dark Soul Citadel, Signal Pass. Give me something else. Give me one more permanent, Eric. Ugh.
Just exploding out of the gates with literally zero power on the battlefield.
Sure, it's going to bring Henry down to 18. He'll play a Copperline Gorge. What else we got? Nothing. Back to Hawkins we go. Hawkins, I think, has an Arcbound Ravager.
It's the star of the show in this matchup. Hawkins is drawn, though, a little bit on the slow side.
You kidding me? Zero power on T1?
1 power on the battlefield on
There's a
turn
Blink
2.
Moth Nexus?
2 power on the battlefield.
He's got a real humdinger of a draw, you ask me. And I don't get to say humdinger much. I would attack with Signal Pest, by the way. Eric thinking about eating that Mox. Gonna hold steady. Desert Pterodon right where it belongs. Cycling, getting the player a new card. Their name got Chewer running around here. See if Scipio can navigate around Arcbound Ravager. It's the hardest card for Living End to beat from Affinity.
Yeah, one of the paths involves you just use an Ingot Chewer to get it into the graveyard, and then when you go ahead and Living End, they do get a Ravager back, but hopefully what you have is just overwhelming in comparison.
There is Ingot Chewer. Looks like he went after the Mox. So Ravager is going to become a 2/2 now. Oh, no, looks like he went after the Ravager, maybe. Okay. Eric just elected to sacrifice the Mox, which leads me to believe he has another one. Draw a card. There's Mox. Blink Moth Nexus. It's time to hit the streets. In for 4.
As you teamed it an explosive draw from Hawkins.
Firing on all cylinders. CJ Steele wins his match over Darius Seiselman, so Seiselman got paired down. He lost. I think people needed CJ Steele to lose. So this could be bad news for Hawkins and Scipio right now.
Yeah, the results coming in so far have not been good for these two. Some of the people potentially blocking their path into 8th place have won their matches. Could be in trouble.
Couple of fetches here for Henry Scipio. See what's up next for our Living End player. There could be more cycling to be done, or there could be more living ending to be done.
Perhaps a blood moon.
Oof. Hawkins. Bang. Galvanic Blast you for 4. You're at 8. All right, Eric's going to untap. It's not pretty, but he's trying to get it done. Remember, I believe Scipio's on a mulligan to 5 this game.
The Living End is this type of deck where mulligans matter to everyone to some degree, but better mulliganing than most. As long as you just have your material to work with, you can afford to be down the 2 cards even.
All right, just Signal Pest, no Blink Moth Nexus, in for 2. Scipio down to 6. There's a Vault Scourge. Fast turn back. This is Archfiend of Ifnir that gets cycled. We're gonna head back over to Scipio now.
Interesting here that Hawkins left up the Opal rather than tapping it for the black mana.
Yep. Another copy of Blink Moth Nexus. Hawkins gonna come in here for 4. Now it's time we do something. There's a Violent Outburst. We'll see a Living End off of the Cascade here momentarily.
And as mentioned before, this is kind of the backup way of beating an Arcbound Ravager. It involves Archfiend and then continuing to cycle.
Correct. So Living End is going to resolve. It appears. I don't think that Eric has a Spell Pierce. If he did, I think his turn would be a little bit different. So Living End is going to resolve. Eric will get back Arcbound Ravager. However, you can see Henry Scipio's battlefield now. It's got an Ingot Chewer trigger, Street Wraith, Desert Pterodon, Archfiend of Ifnir, and that's the one we want to take a look at is the old Archfiend. See exactly what this thing's going to do. It's a 5/4 flyer. Whenever you cycle or discard another card, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature your opponent controls.
It is intense.
Yeah.
Against a deck with this many small creatures.
And it having flying matters a lot right now, too. Because now if you're Hawkins, your goal was to make it so that Blink Moth Nexus could maybe get the job done. I'm not sure that's the case anymore.
Yeah, I mean, your hope is that you have a Galvanic Blast, you can find a way to get 2 points, and then the Galvanic Blast can finish it off.
Mm-hmm. I mean, again, I just don't know if that's going to be the case.
I guess you could try to couple together back-to-back Galvanic Blast too. This all assumes the last card in Hawkins' hand is Galvanic Blast, which I believe is the case based on the awkward Vault Scourge play from a few turns ago.
Fulminator Mage going to go after that Blink Moth Nexus right away. Eric, I believe, might be floating some mana, adding some mana, not sure. Eric wants to see if he's dead or not. So it's an attack for 6 and 5 and 11. 11 and 6 is 17. So it looks
I
like
think it's a point short.
It looks like Scipio's going to be a point short from lethal. Eric will play Galblast.
Okay, well, if this isn't lethal, then Hawkins has a draw.
Yeah.
He doesn't even need Metalcraft. Just Shock will get it done from here.
Put you to 2. And oddly enough, if Henry gets a little too aggressive here, yep, he needs to not attack with the flyer.
Right.
That's important.
Just has something back to block with in case that should come up. He's got well over lethal next turn. That's not a concern.
Hawkins needs to draw. Yeah.
Both players rubbing their hands.
He needs to draw Galvanic Blast, and he's going to slow roll himself real good to see if he draws it. And I don't think that's it.
This would be a great slow roll now.
Yeah, I don't think that's it. Gonna turn on Blink Moth Nexus maybe? I don't know. Let's see. Oof, that's late.
Redraw.
Yeah, he's gonna add red mana with this, and then use a colorless to cycle. Yep. Okay. Well,
Gotta rub them together a second time.
You gotta slow roll yourself again. That's for darn sure. Come on, baby. Spire of Industry. Not gonna do it. Henry Scipio gonna win this match here over Eric Hawkins. 2-1. Living End gonna take care of Affinity, and for Henry, he gets a little lucky there. We'll